looking into. I was curious about if I mean, we had a bit of that going on, like the roster changes and all that, which is good and all. I mean, I guess we could talk briefly. Have you taken a look at any of these HLTV picks? Have you been keeping track of like
the top 20?
HLTV
Yeah,
and
I've had a
all
look.
that?
Yeah.
Like the award show that's coming up right now, that's going to be happening this weekend.
I do have a take on that if you want, because here's the thing. Normally, when we do these top 20 lists, I will say, in my opinion, every top 20 since the online era is by definition scoffed, because it's stuff like there's less events, there's not the same amount, blah, blah, blah. There aren't as many consistent top teams. So I will say, in past years, like if we were going like 2018, I would instantly have like 3 or 4 be like, this is outrageous, what the fuck are they doing? I think actually it's way harder to do these lists now. And I think if this year particularly, Semmler, 2022, I actually think is the hardest ever, because it starts with Simple. So Simple's obviously the player of the year, but even he had sort of a down year. And that's why when you get to names, so today is the day, if people don't know at the time of recording, that number 5 Nico came out and number 6 was Brokey, right? Off the top of your head, I'm sure a lot of you had the same response I did. When you saw number 6 Brokey, you were like, what? Wait a minute, number 6? Like, dude, was he really the 6th best player the whole year? Like, he wasn't some superstar. But then when you look into it, it's like, no, this is why, to do a list, to actually be fair, if you're going to criticize someone else's list, you need to make your own. And here's why. Because here's what I would tell you. Well, who else is going to be number 6? Because when you actually go and look at the list, at what people did and how they played over the whole year, it's just a bit of a scuffed year, guys. It wasn't a year where like the top dogs were so blatantly like dominant. Like I say, people like Simple and Zewu even had months where, or tournaments where they were just all right. It felt like it was a bit more of a scuffed year. So I think actually this is the year where I have the least like dispute with their list. Like I would have different placings for certain players, but I think in general, like all things with HLTV, actually, it's not that I've changed. HLTV's just changed over the years, and they've just actually, I think, leveled up their techniques and processes. Like, I'll give you a random piece of information now, Semmler. You remember the old HLTV top 20s, the ones I hated. So a classic example is in 2016. You remember when Nico was going mad on mouse spots, but because mouse spots was mega shit, they weren't relevant at majors, they were never making the playoffs. Yeah. They very rarely even made deep playoff runs in any tournaments. And so even though this guy was like a young rookie speaking a second language, working with like shit, weird, like German, Dutch, terrible team. And he was IGLing HLTV, including a guy who is from like the same region as Nico. The game will restart in 1 second. They had Nico number 11 player for 2016. Here's what's different. Nico in 2022 is number 5. He didn't make a single major playoffs and didn't win MVP at a single LAN. That means actually HLTV's come round to my way of thinking, which is what they've done is they've just looked with their eyes at the body of work Nico did, and they're like, look, it is his fault that like G2 didn't have their problems with IGLs. And he was mega though. Like he was still really good. So I actually, that's why if you don't notice, it's not that I've softened. I actually think HLTV's just done a better job the last few years in all regards. The world ranking's better. These end of year rankings are better. I think the methodology is better. Even the news posts to some degree are better. Like they don't do that dodgy shit where they didn't link someone else's report or they pretend they scooped DK because they had like 80% of the same story and he brought out they've actually become a pretty legit website in general. They're actually just leveled up. So I actually thought this one was pretty good. I thought it was one of the better lists they've done.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that stood out to you?
No, I'm happy to hear that because I'm kind of in the same boat where it's just this whole year feels like a bit of a blur, and then it is that, you know, it's like who else would you have in, because you're not going to have anybody from FaZe in like the top 3, top 4. They're all going to be around in like the top 10 to 15, which is kind of how it played out with,
I think it's about right. If people don't know, the trio of FaZe that we always talk about, Brokey is 6, Rops is 8, and Twist is 11. That sounds pretty reasonable. That's one of the reasons that people don't know why we're all bigging up Carrigan. He didn't have a top 5 player. He just had like a bunch. The joke is he really did almost like Moneyball. He got like 3 players that can let together become Simple or something, you know. It's like you actually did do that sort of.
No, that's the wild. That was always the wild quality of Carrigan in terms of his IGL. But no, like I feel like they did a good job with it all. It's just now going to come down to like the wire in terms of who is actually going to be taking that top spot. Simple seems to be ahead of it, but then how does it break down after that? Because you're going to
number
have, like,
2 one's the most interesting one, probably. Yeah.
Who else are you gonna have? You're gonna have Zywoo and Shiro and probably Axile, I guess, that are gonna be.
It's assumed those are the top 4, yes.
Yeah.
Because if people don't know, just the raw stats on both Shiro and Axile are nuts. Like this year, they had. It's why actually Cloud9 was such a difficult team to talk about. Those 2 players, when they're on their game, are top 5 players in the world. Their problem is when they're not, they can just go really far down, you know, or just become okay.
Yeah, so they have let's see. I was looking through this. Now the reason why I
If I had
actually
to guess, I'll give you my prediction now, Semmler. Number 4 will be Axile. Number 3 will be Shiro. Number 2 will be Zero. Number 1 will be Simple. I think that's the order they will do it in. Just from looking at how they did it on the other ones and thinking how their minds, I think that will be the order they will be in. That's my prediction.
interesting. So you wouldn't have Axel above Shiro. It's just going to be
That's
three
the
off the
thing.
top.
I might personally, if it was me doing it, but I think how they do it, I think, like, if you don't know, because they are on some level going off stats similar, being a star AWPer will always be more OP stats wise than a rifler. Because think about it, right? You shoot the guy and he's dead or he's not. With a rifle, if I do 89 damage to you, that's almost a kill, but it isn't a kill. So the problem is, like, riflers are always going to have a harder time hitting the same stats metrics. So I think just naturally, Zero will always be above Axel. And that with 3 AWPers at the top of the list, which seems apt for how the game's judged stats wise, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it feels like that makes sense. That makes sense.
Like, I don't hate if people want Axel there. I agree the rifle's harder. To some degree, he's more the X factor. I think Shiro's more like, to me, Shiro's the meat and potatoes of Gambit / Cloud9, and Axel's like the X factor that wins you the game, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I mean, it's looking like there's going to be quite the guest list and everything too. So this is actually, like, looking through the guest list is actually pretty cool. Because like Henry G is going to be there, Natu's going to be there, Vendetta's going to be there. A bunch of guys from like the older crew are actually going
You
to
get your invitation to get lost in the middle. What's going on?
Yeah, no invitation.
Oh, weird how that works, isn't it?
But I think I don't know. I don't want to read too much into it, obviously. And if it's their event, so if they want to invite me, they invite me. If they don't, they don't. But I did take a gander because they do have the women's section, and I was.
Oh, by the way, I'll just
curious.
throw this out there because people who are by the numbers fans will appreciate this. This is actual pure fucking cringe. Let me just get you guys a quick tweet that I wanted to show you. So, as people might know, because everyone is, like you're saying, revealing, like Carrigan's going to the HLTV. Wow, Simple's going. They're revealing all these. Shiro's going. They're revealing all these names. Well, one name I saw that is going that you might be puzzled by is the manager of OG, Vladislava's going, right? Who everyone knows. Like, it's a great scene person if you don't know. Right? Man alive. I'll have to find where this comment is. I'm just checking for it now because it's so fucking bad. Let me see. Let me just see where it is. I just have to find. Basically, she said, someone on Twitter said something about her like attending the event. I'll have to find this exact quote because it's so bad. I'll have to find it. Wait there a second. Let me just find it.
It's so bad.
Oh, here we go. I found it. Right. So what happens is, this is only 22 hours ago. Vladislava on Twitter did a tweet where she sort of said the next event she's going to. She was like, we have a boot camp in Denmark, then we have the Blast Premier Swing Groups, then we have IEM Katowice, then we have ESL Pro League, and then we have Blast EU RMR. And then some guy who works for Vitality just replies like, add in a bit of blue with the Blast TV major. And she goes, working on it. So then Professor from HLTV, classic cringe lord, jumps in, not even a conversation to do with him, and goes, and the award show, because she's just said she's going to work on going to the major. So he's going like, and the award show, like telling her sort of come to the major, the award show for HLTV. Are you ready for the cringe? Some random fan goes, do we have any award for Vladislava this year? Oh, wait a second. Actually, that guy works for Relog Media, so I guess he's not a nobody. He goes, do we have any award for Vladislava? This is Professor's actual reply in 2023 on the internet. He goes,
I don't know I can do this.
Her presence is an award for everyone that will be there. Let me doff my hat, my lady.
Lady.
Fucking hell, homie. You're simping that hard? I know you got Simple going to the event, but fucking hell. I think you're the biggest simp in the room. What the fuck's that shit? What is that? My lady, your presence alone is an award for all of them. Please. I feel like I'm being waterboarded when I read that, guys. I can't handle it. But I tap out. I don't know what the average is.
Dude, I can't handle it, dude. I can't listen to that shit. Dude, you just reading that alone.
And here's the other thing, guys. Go and look up all those classic pictures of Professor where he's dressing like he's like Patrick Bateman. It's like, mate, add that. Imagine that guy saying that, like, well, of course, your presence would be a gift to all that. Get me out. Oh. It's like that team, the one everyone links that gif from Team America World Plays where he's being sick, like, that's how I feel. It's just spewing all that chill.
Oh, man, alive, dude. That's so good.
Fucking hell.
I can't believe you caught that.
What's he, a professor in? PhD in simping? This guy's ridiculous. This guy's ridiculous.
Shit, there was one.
I had to get it out there. I had to put it on the record. That's all, guys. I had to get it on the record.
Oh, no. Fuck. Nah, damn. Now you've just reminded me. I'm going to have to go back and find something, too. I got to go back on. Like, there was some fucking epic burn. Fuck it. I'll have to go back and find it. There's too much shit. No, okay, yeah, right. No, I don't know. I don't see that Olga's going to be attending, but women's player of the year, top 3, Anna, Olga, and Vilga. So the Brazilian player who
you know what's sad about that? I know so little about women's Counter-Strike at this point in time. I actually thought that was just the name and the alias of the player. Like it was Anna, Olga, Vilga. Like, oh, is she the best player? She said, like, no, there's 3 different people. Like, oh, my bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that player is up for it. So it does really. I mean, I don't know.
Who was actually the best? Do you know those? Who was the best? Is it Vilga?
No, I think statistically, that's the problem. I think statistically, like if you go off of the HLTV rating or something, I think it would be Olga, but they're probably not going to go that far. They're probably going to give it to Anna or something like that.
Oh, the Brazilian girl's the one you're talking about, right? I think I actually have heard of her. Fair enough. Never watched a game, of course, so don't worry about that.
No, but yeah, that is probably it's probably I don't even know how to read that whole situation anymore, right? If it's like it may very well be that at this point it's like, okay, I've said my piece, whatever. You guys, it's like it's on the women now to do their thing. If they want to make a deal out of it, they don't, and if they don't, well then it took barely a year for there to be for it to be 1 out of 3. So we'll see how long it takes to get to 3 out of 3, but that's probably very likely in the future. So
by the way, as an aside, one thing I will say, if you look at the HLTV top 20, that I immediately think to myself is, mate, even though I did always say I thought the lineup slightly underpowered, the actual results at the end of 2022 for Heroic are very impressive. To have one player on the whole top 20 and he's only at 10th in Stown. They don't have big names, guys. Like, that's actually, remember at the first major, they only lost to Navi. They were going to win that game and probably go to semis, if not final. They were playing Ents. The other major, they were like in the mix again. They were in the final, then they won a black. Like that's for the talent they have, they will perform differently. That's pretty legit. Not even Cadians on the list, understandably.
No, I mean, and again, you have to reemphasize just how essential Hunden was to getting that squad together and getting that performance rolling.
Oh, back in the day, yeah.
That's the thing. So it's just like Hunden is an eye for talent. He can get more out of people than you would think, and he's instrumental.
You know something fucked up, Semmler? Even though people are going to think I'm joking, I actually do for real think that's part of why he seems to have attempted to sabotage Heroic so hard on the way out the door. I get the sense for real, his whole vibe was sort of like, I made this fucking team and you're now going to kick me out. Fuck you. Then I'm going to destroy. It's like, I brought you in the world. I'll take you out of it. By the way, if people don't know, I think that's why Nicola Nihon wanted to destroy Heroic using Hunden, because Nicola Nihon made Heroic, if people don't know. A lot of people don't know that to this day. They do if they're fans of this show, so I won't belabor it. But essentially, the whole point of Heroic was to one day be like a fucking feeder team to Astralis. / they were going to make Blast.
It was the original academy.
And they were also going to try, if you remember, because they had Godsent as well, they were going to make like a Blast exclusive league or something at one point. That was like another idea that Richard did an article about when Nihon was trying to own every aspect of esports, just like the S-Force guy did, to be fair. And obviously that didn't happen. But if you were Nihon, I've always said on this show, the fact that years later we did bring back academy squads and you can sort of own 2, that does feel fucked up. Because if you're Nihon, you're like, I would have Heroic and Astralis right now. What the fuck? What the hell?
Yeah. And it's all arbitrary as well, depending on which region it is and how it all goes down. It's not like a conflict of interest isn't still very much a thing in the scene. Depending on where you look. So yeah, no, it is one of those things where it's just like, are we actually saying that that Nihon, might have been hard done by? Wow. Yes, we are. All right. Do you want to get some questions in?
Yes.
Should we move on to the questions? All right, we got a few of them, and guys, we're still taking questions for the show. So for next week, if you're a supporter, you can get in there. And
say this one thing, because this is what we've been saying on the other shows that aren't like the CSGO ones. The problem is, the reason we're not promoting GrogCoin, telling you to buy it right now, is because at the moment we're in a transition phase where we're probably going to move to something else. But here's the key thing to say. Don't worry, we will take care of everyone who is a GrogCoin holder and you won't lose out in any way from this deal. So at the moment, we're still figuring out exactly how we do it. But for now, we'll take the questions, but we're just not going to promote that aspect. So we're transitioning from that. So don't worry, there'll be news coming on that. News coming.
Precisely. Oh, at least. I don't know. I'm getting the news too. So there you go, guys. But let's
see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content. Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.